Test.
Good evening. I would like to call to order this regular school board meeting Thursday, October 10th at 5 p.m. Ms. Delgado, can you please take roll call?
Ms. Flores, Mr. Lira, Mr. Morales,
Present.
Ms. Murillo,
Present.
Ms. Rodriguez.
Present.
Madam Vice President, we have established quorum.
Thank you for that. If we could please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you for being present. And one of the mission statement, Ms. Murillo, can you please do the mission statement?
The Gadsden Independent School District will provide diverse educational opportunities that empower students to be successful in an ever-changing world. El Distrito Escolar Independiente de Gadsden brindará diversas oportunidades educativas que capacitarán a los estudiantes para tener éxito en un mundo cambiante.
Thank you. And just as a reminder, if someone wants to be part of the open forum, there is a form that needs to be filled out. It is in the back, and once you fill it out, please bring it to Ms. Delgado so that she can have that information, and it needs to be done prior to open forum. So if someone wants to do that, please feel free to go fill out the form. And moving on to item 3, which is Superintendent District Updates and Recognitions. Superintendent Dempsey.
All right, Madam Vice President, thank you all for joining us. Board members, thank you for joining us this evening. I'm incredibly excited about some recognitions we have this evening. I'll just give you a little background. At Gadsden High School, we really, even to have the conversation about Gadsden in our area, agriculture is an incredibly important component of it. And really, I don't know how you have a conversation about this district without understanding ag as a core component of it. We've had a few struggles, just get real. It's been a little bit of an uphill battle, and we've just encountered different challenges. But I cannot tell you, I am so proud of this group of students and our staff that have worked so incredibly hard. And I think this is right at the beginning of something pretty amazing that's about to happen. And so with that, I'd like to introduce Ms. Legareta and let her come up and brag on our teachers and students, and we'll get to help us with some recognitions here. Ms. Legareta.
Thank you, Mr. Dempsey. Good afternoon, Vice President Claudia Rodriguez, board members, and Superintendent Dempsey. I'm thrilled to be here this evening to introduce our Future Farmers of America sponsors, Mr. Valente Gonzalez, Mr. Ramon Quiroga, and Mr. Ernest Sanchez. Tonight, we will present the incredible work and achievements of our students in the FFA program at Gadsden High School. But before handing the microphone over to our teachers, I would like to take a moment to thank our Gadsden High School FFA alumni for being here tonight and for their ongoing support for both our students and the program. Thank you for being here tonight, guys.
Good evening, board members. My name is Valente Arnulfo Gonzalez. I'm the animal science teacher and Gadsden FFA advisor. I've been teaching there 1 year, and in the short 1 year, we've been able to accomplish quite a bit. So I got couple of students are going to say their achievements that we've done over the past 4 fairs. If I could welcome Tegan and Dominic up, and Giselle.
Good evening, I'm Tegan. I hold the office reporter in our Gadsden FFA club, and I would just like to tell you about what we did here at the state fairs that just happened. Next slide. So as you can see, those are some of the photos we got from Southern New Mexico Fair. Those are on the top, and on the bottom is Eastern New Mexico State Fair. That first photo is actually Dominic here, and I'm going to let him explain what that is.
Hi. Thank you for having me here today. So here in the top left corner, that's me showing the judge on my rabbit. And I actually got 4th place, showmanship.
The next one is of the 3 students who participated, which was us 3 right here in Southern New Mexico State Fair. We showed our rabbits. Back to the rabbit side, please. And then the next one was just a photo of us watching the barn and letting the kids from the schools that came over see the rabbits and learn about them. And then the other one was just Giselle going up to collect her rabbit. The bottom ones were Roswell, and the first one is the 4 students who participated, us 3, and another student named Giselle. And the next one is Giselle herself. Tell her about that one.
Hi, thank you for having me here. So here is me. I competed with a lion's mane, and I did win first place on my class. And here's
The last photo was just up there during the judging. Next slide, please. So this photo was me and my dairy heifer showing at Eastern New Mexico State Fair. We ended up getting 8th in our class, but I feel we did really good. Next slide, please. So the next 2 slides are for our floriculture design. I'll also be talking for that one because our student couldn't make it. Next slide, please. So this was the one we did in Albuquerque. We placed top 10, 9th place, I believe, and we won $30 from the placement. Next slide, please. This one was from Southern New Mexico State Fair. We had 5 students make dry bouquets, and we presented them. My bouquet ended up making 2nd place, and our 1st place bouquet winner wasn't able to make it, and the others are just from other students that made bouquets there. Next slide, please.
Hello, my name is Ernest Sanchez. I'm the FFA advisor for Gadsden High School. I teach the welding department, and I started this early spring. And from this early spring to now, we have a lot of achievements that we won. I'm going to have my students talk about what we did this fair.
Good afternoon. My name is Isidro Zacarias. I'm with the FFA Ag class. Right here to my right, his name is Nathan Acosta, and to my left is Andres Garcilaso. So what we did in the Southern New Mexico State Fair was we built a smoker from scratch. We were able to get 2nd place in the state convention for FFA. And in Southern New Mexico State Fair, we went ahead and got 2 prizes, one for the large smoker, tow behind smoker, which is this one. And then our other achievement we got was grand champion overall, which is this one right here. I just want to tell y'all that Cruces was looking at us ugly, and we got to brag to their faces that we won grand champion. Thank you.
So as you can see, we're extremely excited for what we're doing with our art program. It has been 12 years that we have competed with a smoker, and it has been 14 years that we didn't compete with the showing of the animals. So we're very excited to have the students, and we're going to be going from the 22nd to the 27th to the national conference in Indianapolis, and hopefully continue to learn and grow the program more. Thank you.
If you all could come over here so we can take a picture.
Okay, thank you all for joining us. Congratulations. All right, our next item, we have the 2024 College Board AP School Honor Roll was announced recently, and Santa Teresa High School was listed on it again. So Mr. Woggum is going to share some information with you about that.
Madam Vice President, members of the board, Superintendent Dempsey, it's very proud here again to have one of our schools, additional one of our schools here, continue to represent the district so well. Once again, Santa Teresa High School was recognized for the AP Bronze Campus Award. Here are the criteria, so you will know on behalf of the school here. The criteria to win this award are 40% or more of the graduating cohort. So these are kids that graduated in 2024. They do it graduating classes. 40% of more of the graduating cohort took at least one AP exam in high school. 25% or more of the graduating cohort scored a 3 or higher on one AP exam during high school. And 2% or more of the graduating cohort took 5 or more AP exams in high school, with at least one being in 9th or 10th grade. And so what I do know on behalf of the administration, the staff, and the counselors at STHS, they've really worked hard over the last few years developing an outstanding AP PLC among the group of teachers there, really led by their campus administration and their counselor and some teacher leaders. I know that our other campuses are moving ahead in a positive direction. I wouldn't be surprised that if in a year or two here that all of our campuses are meeting that criteria as well. So I do want to thank everybody in our district, Ms. Park, and everybody who supports to ensure our kids have access to those AP tests. I didn't have my facts straight on this. As you know, last year they also received the AP Access Award because of the number of at-risk students who were successful on AP tests. I just didn't have my facts quite straight yet to see if that was part of this award as well. So again, congratulations to everybody at Santa Teresa High School, everybody who supports them, and everybody here in the district. We're looking forward to great things from all of our campuses.
Mr. Wogermuth, yeah, go ahead. Thank you for that. And I just, if each board member, if you're not 100% familiar with advanced placement in AP courses, it really is the very best framework for college success. Dual credit's great. However, AP has a much higher standard. And so the more and more opportunities we give students to experience that level and take those, and there's they take an AP test. If they score a certain score, 3 or higher, they can get college credit for that work. But just their exposure to that level of work just helps them be a little bit more prepared, and it's terrific to hear that our students are getting more and more access to that level of rigor so that they're better prepared for college. So I just add that, and congratulations, Santa Teresa High School, and I hope we'll have a couple more high schools in the future on that, okay? Now, our next item, I think I made a mistake here. We want to recognize some state fair, some students who participated in the state fair and their art awards. However, they weren't quite prepared to do this, so I'm going to roll that over to next week, or next meeting, so we'll get an opportunity to acknowledge them and recognize them, but they did a fabulous job. And now we're down to our student activity report. Ms. Ivaro is a senior at Desert Pride Academy.
Good evening, Board President Flores, school board members, Superintendent Dempsey, and guests. My name is Isa Savado, and I am a senior at Desert Pride Academy, and it is my pleasure to report the latest achievements from my school. First of all, our enrollment has increased greatly. We have 123 new students. Last month was National Suicide Prevention Week, and our social workers had students write down 3 things worth living for and created a bulletin board with responses. They also gave a presentation to the students with information on 988, the Suicide Crisis Lifeline, and other resources. We were recognized by a visit from several people from central office to give us an award for improving our attendance. We reduced our chronic absenteeism from 56% to 34% in the month of August. Jostens came to our school on Tuesday to help the December graduates order their caps and gowns and other graduation materials. Our teachers are preparing us for SAT testing coming up on October 24th. We have a new mental health therapist, Mrs. Rosanna Moulton, and a new social worker, Mrs. Bernice Holguin. We also have a new nurse, Ms. Flor Morales. Lastly, we started the new school year with 3 new teachers, Ms. Nunez, Math, Ms. Crowther, CTE, and Ms. Gomez in History. Thank you for letting me share the updates from my school, Desert Pride Academy. I will be graduating in December, and I am extremely thankful for the experience I have had at Desert Pride. After I graduate, I will attend Piedmont Medical Institute for 9 months starting in January to complete their medical assistant program, so I can have a stable job and an idea of what the medical field will be like before I continue my education. Desert Pride has helped me develop multiple thinking and learning strategies that I can use to do well in my new school. Sorry. I am looking forward to being a nurse in the future and engaging in lifelong learning. I appreciate the positive attitudes, support, and respect all of my teachers have given me. The way the teachers are constantly checking in on us and greeting us at the door every day reminds us that we are noticed and our presence matters here at school. Last semester, I finished with a 2.25 GPA. I would like to thank Desert Pride Academy for giving me a second chance, restoring my academic confidence, helping me learn everything that I hadn't in only the span of 2 semesters, and giving me the opportunity to graduate a semester early. I recommend Desert Pride to anybody who lacks credits, is struggling with mental or physical health issues, or just overall having a difficult time, as they are there not only to help you, but support you in your journey to graduation. You can't change how it started, but you can change how it ends. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, now moving on to board member, item number 4, board members report. Secretary Murillo.
Good evening. I'm going to start backwards because I know she's leaving, but Ms. Isis, Miss Isis was one of my students. She's my last coaching group. And so I'm very, very excited to see you graduate in December and seeing the great things that you're doing. It's amazing, and I can't believe that you're graduating. I swear I coached you last year, but amazing, great job. And thank you so much for being here. Moving on to, thank you to FFA. I know they left, but FFA, congratulations on your competitions. I had no idea that welding had anything to do with FFA. So new learning. You think FFA is all about, animals and farming, but something new. And I attended the Santa Teresa High School Community Center. It was really, really nice. And the opportunities, Ms. Rosie Villalobos, I think I saw you. I see you. Thank you so much. I know it took a while, but amazing. And the partnerships that this has brought, and it's causing a lot of noise. I have been receiving some calls from PED, some of the ladies from community schools, asking, you guys finally did it. How can we help? And so I know Santa Fe is paying attention and they're listening. So I really like that. I hope everybody had an amazing break for those of you guys that had a break, because I know some of you guys didn't or had a couple of days. And I know we don't we don't take the day off for Indigenous Day on Monday, but I really hope that you guys are well rested. I'm very interested to see and to learn more about what Desert Pride is doing to help with the absenteeism. Something's working there, and so I think it will be nice to share with the other schools, and collaborate, because that school, I've been saying this since I joined the board, it had a reputation, and we have the wrong concept that is for troubled kids. But then when you set foot into that school, it's amazing. Like, really, it is an academy. And then to end, I was invited to speak, and they're not here. I invited them. It was the student council at Bumblebee Daycare. And I was not expecting to see what I saw that day. There was all these kids that they're in elementary, 4th and 5th grade, that they were wondering, how come there's no student council in elementary level? They wanted to know why is that there's only student council in high school, middle school, and then they come to the board, but not them. So then this little girl decided to bring it in to her teacher, which is the after-school program. And I really thought that I had to, tone it down with my vocabulary. Those kids were amazing. And I told them, I really want you guys to come to a board meeting. They watched a board meeting and they were asking questions about it. They were asking how can they run when they graduate, and how can they be part of the board here in Gadsden, because they are part of the community. Some of them go to La Unión. We had some from La Unión representing Santa Teresa Elementary and Riverside. And so it was really, really neat to see the kind of kids that we're shaping, the students that we're shaping, because it was amazing to hear them speak. And with that, I conclude my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Morales.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for being here. I'll be really quick. So I've during the last 3 weeks, except for the time that people were off, I did continue to visit schools, and I have met with people from the community. And so what I will say is that it's really welcoming to meet with everybody and to hear, what their concerns are, what their ideas and all that stuff. So eventually those discussions will probably end up somewhere on a discussion item through my request. So we'll see some of those tonight, so that we can make sure that everybody's heard. I know that it's my job to advocate for everybody, whether it's within the district or outside with the legislators or with community resources. So as I did last time, my phone number is on the website. Feel free to email me, to text me, or to call me. It's 575-262-9424. I'm open to, listening to, whoever wants to be heard. And I will do everything that I can to advocate and make sure that your concerns or ideas are heard. And the last thing, regarding the students that were here today. It's very humbling to see these kids, succeed. It's such a great feeling. And but I think we all know that it's not just the kids. It's the parents that are helping them at home. It's the teachers, it's the administration that's helping them. So kudos to everybody here. I'm very proud of these kids. It's great. I know I've only been on the board for a short while, but one of my conversations with some people out in the community, they brought up some of the successes that some of our alumni have had. And eventually I would like to bring that up as a discussion item as to what programs are out there to showcase the stuff that Gadsden District has produced, with the people that have been successful and are giving back to the community. So that's one of the items that will come up. But that's my report.
Thank you, Mr. Morales. Well, I think I want to piggyback a little bit on what you were saying, the last thing about FFA and the success that they've had, right? I believe that, you mentioned the parents, you mentioned the staff, and I think that there's a critical part that has also been a part of this. We have the farmers from the area that have been supporting this, right, and really advocating for that. So thank you for being here. I know that you have a passion for this, and there's that support. And so here you see the success, right, of something that you pushed for as well. One of the things that I was telling the students is that I always wanted to wear a blue jacket, but I never did. I never joined, and now I regret it, right? It's only been a few years that I graduated, but but it's great, right? I remember back then when I was in high school, there was a lot of blue jackets, right? And so all of a sudden there were no blue jackets for a while, and now they're back, and I see that it's a big amount, and they're having great success. So thank you everyone that is part of that. And then about the AP courses, I believe, and that's something that I firmly believe that our students need to have those opportunities, right? And it's not just give them a few choices, but increasing the amount of AP courses that these students can take, because definitely, as you explained, Mr. Dempsey, there's great benefit to it. Not only that, but it also prepares them for when they go to the actual campuses at the universities, right? So I'm glad that that's growing, and congratulations to Santa Teresa. I know that the other schools will be there, will be recognized eventually, because everyone is working hard on this and making sure. As for DPA, I love to hear the students, right? And you can see how much it has really helped them continue with their education, right? And just hearing this young lady stating that, she's already preparing, and not just, graduating, but what else, the next steps in her life. So that's great. Thank you, DPA, for everything, all the staff and the administration, what you're doing there. And I know it's going to grow even more, and definitely recognizing that the attendance has been great, right? And it's been improving, and yes, they could probably we could use that as a blueprint and see what could be implemented at other campuses. Also for September 27th, there was the Santa Teresa Charitable Foundation golf tournament. I just want to mention, that they do many great things, and I also saw that a lot of the schools support them for what they're supporting our schools for, right? And so it's a group effort. I love to help. It's been my third year that I've been there, and it's always great to see all the people that collaborate in this, right? And they're the ones that, the players are the ones that are paying the money, and that goes to our students. So thank you to the Santa Teresa Charitable Foundation and everyone that's a part of that. Also, the FFA mentioned the Southern New Mexico State Fair. I want to thank the bus sponsors, because I know that was something that they really push, and I appreciate the fact that they consider Gadsden, right? And they're like really looking forward to having students from Gadsden go over there. So thank you to the bus sponsor, which is the Doñana County Farm and Livestock Bureau. They give the students opportunity to be there, right? And this is to attend the educational group field trip. So a lot of our kids were able to attend that as a field trip, and they were able to experience and see our FFA. So that's something that, not only that, they are able to see the art show, everything that's there. And so, they can see that their colleagues, their fellow students are there as well, doing something, and they look forward to it, right? Because this is the elementary kiddos that attend these field trips. And also as Ms. Murillo mentioned, the grand opening of the school community centers. This is I always say, parents, please be involved. Don't wait until there's something happening, right? And you need to be visible. These centers, they're phenomenal. Not only are they open to the community, but they are it's a place where you can find resources. And not only resources, you can also get some courses there, some education, things that are gonna benefit you as a person. And not only will it benefit you, but it'll benefit your family. So please take advantage of that. Thank you, Rosie, for your hard work. Ms. Genevieve, you're doing an excellent job. And of course, the POAs that are the ones that are there at the facilities. They are just so caring and understanding. It's always nice to see how they open their arms, right, to embrace what is happening there. So please, parents, take advantage of it. Go to those community centers at the schools. So there's one at North Valley Elementary, one at Gadsden High School, one at Santa Teresa High School, and one at Chaparral High School. So please, there's no reason that we can't say it's too far because we have one within our areas. And also the POAs are always willing to give transportation, provide transportation for those parents or families that cannot attend on their own. So thank you for that. And that concludes my report. Now, moving on to item 5, it's the human resources. That information is there. You can view what the report that is there. And now, item 6, the modification of agenda. Do I hear a motion?
I make a motion that we accept the modification of the agenda as is.
Ms. Murillo, Secretary Murillo has made a motion to approve the agenda as is. Do I hear all in favor? Sorry.
Aye.
Aye. So it's unanimous. It's been approved. Now, going to item 7, the regular school board minutes for September 19th, 2024. Do I hear a motion?
I make a motion that we accept regular school board minutes for September 19, 2024.
Thank you, Ms. Murillo has made a motion. Do all in favor?
Aye.
So again, unanimously, it's approved. Moving on to consent agenda 8. Do I hear a motion for that one?
Make a motion that we accept the consent agenda.
Ms. Murillo has made a motion to accept the consent agenda as it is. Thank you. And all in favor?
Aye.
It's unanimously. It's approved. Now, action item 9, open forum. Ms. Delgado, do we have any?
Madam Vice President, we have none.
Thank you for that. Now, moving on to the action items. Number 10, the first one is the rescheduling of the December 12th regular school board meeting. Superintendent Dempsey.
Madam Vice President, board members, we have a couple scheduling conflicts that we're seeing associated with our New Mexico School Board Association annual conference and the Board Institute. So this item, we'd like permission to reschedule the December 12th meeting for Tuesday, December 10th. The 12th is our first day of the annual conference, and so we'd like to move a board meeting to that Tuesday of the same week, and then we can get that accomplished and they get off to the conference.
Okay. Do I hear a motion to accept this item 10A?
I'll make a motion to accept item 10A, reschedule December 12th, 2024, regular school board meeting for 12/10/24.
Thank you, Mr. Morales. Now, action item 10B is also another rescheduling of the February 13th, 2025 regular school board meeting. Mr. Dempsey?
Madam President, board members, Mr. Snowdy, we go to the next slide. I don't want to get these dates messed up. Thank you. New Mexico School Board Association Board Institute in Santa Fe. We have a conflict there, and we'd like to reschedule the meeting we have scheduled for the 13th and reschedule that for Thursday, February 6th.
Well, I'll go ahead and make a motion to accept item 10B, which is the rescheduling of the February 13th regular school board meeting. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, so that has been approved. Moving on to action item 10C, the IDEA B grant application. Superintendent.
Madam Vice President, board members, we back in May of, let me make sure I get this right, May 23rd, 2024, in consent, if you'll recall, budgets were late. Everything was running late. And so what we did is we had a consent item that allowed us to submit all federal program and IDA applications to PED. And the board passed that unanimously on May 23rd. Our application for SPED, and that's the IDA-B dollars is specific to SPED, they contacted us and they want to have that as a separate action item passed by the board. There's no changes to the application. It remains the same, but they want that item listed on the agenda for action. What I think we've learned is in the future, we want to break those out individually, and we'll try to do that. We've done this several times in the past, which gives us the ability to meet deadlines and not have special meetings. We may have to kind of watch that a little bit as we get into the spring.
Okay, so on that one, I'm sorry, any questions, comments on that? No? Okay, do we need to do something?
It would be an action. I would ask for a motion to approve the IDA-B grant application.
Do we have to do the resolution part and not here?
No, Madam Vice President, that's the next item.
Oh, okay, sounds good. Okay, so for action 10C, do I hear a motion?
I make a motion to approve action item 10C, IDEA B grant application.
Mr. Morales has made a motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So it's approved. Going on to action item 10D. Now this is the resolution for approval of land purchase by Alto de las Flores.
Madam Vice President, board members, Ms. Cadena is going to help us with this item.
Good afternoon, Madam Vice President Rodriguez, board members, Superintendent Dempsey. The board previously approved the sale of approximately 1 acre at the San Miguel Special Education property to the Alto de las Flores Mutual Water Association. The agreed upon price to sell the property was $78,400. As we worked through the process with their representative and also the district's attorney, we did realize that we have to submit some forms to the State Board of Finance for their approval for us to be able to sell the land. So they require a more formal resolution that just basically makes it much more official. So although you've already approved the sale, this is just a resolution where you all sign, and it just states it's been drafted by our attorney, and they do this all the time. And it's just asking for your approval to approve the resolution as written, stating that you all have approved the sale of the 1 acre for $78,400 to Alto de las Flores. I stand for questions.
Thank you. And so, yes, one of the things is that there is a resolution, and it is a long, there's 2 sheets, I believe. But I think so that we all are acquainted with what the resolution states, I would like for Mr. Dempsey, Superintendent Dempsey, to read that resolution.
Madam President, absolutely. Of course. Resolution, Board of Education, Gadsden Independent School District, Resolution Number 1, resolution approving sale of real property and authorizing superintendent or designee to execute documents necessary for sale of real property. Whereas the Board of Education of Gadsden Independent School District, herein thereafter referred to as board, is the owner of record of certain real property, including all improvements thereupon, located at 2160 New Mexico Highway 192, San Miguel, New Mexico 88058, herein after referred to as property and more commonly known as San Miguel property. And whereas the Alto de las Flores Mutual Domestic Water Consumers Association has offered to purchase a portion of the property, approximately 1 acre, from the board, and whereas the board desires to sell property out to Alto de las Flores Mutual Domestic Water Consumer Association, and whereas the board has been fully briefed and appraised of the property, the sale documents, and the documents that will be signed at closing. Be it hereby resolved by the board on this 10th day of October 2024 that the board approves the sale of the property to Alto de las Flores Mutual Domestic Water Consumers Association for consideration in the amount of $78,400. Be it further resolved that such sale of property is subject to approval by the New Mexico State Board of Finance. Be it further resolved that Gadsden Independent School District Superintendent Travis Dempsey or his designee hereby is fully authorized to appear at the closing for the property and at that time execute any and all documents necessary to officiate the sale of the board of the property and receive payment in full for the property on behalf of the board. Be it further resolved that the superintendent is authorized to take any and all other steps as are appropriate and necessary to fully and completely effectuate the purchase of the property. Adopted this 10th day of October 2024 by the Board of Education, Gadsden Independent School District.
Thank you for that, Superintendent Dempsey. I think that was great.
That was a lot.
The reason I did want it to be read, even though that we had already approved it, just so that we all are aware of what the resolution states. Do we have any questions, comments, or concerns? No? Okay, so do I hear a motion to accept action item 10D?
I'd like to make a motion to accept action item 10D, resolution for approval of land purchase by Alto de las Flores MDWCA.
Mr. Morales has made a motion to approve action item 10D. All in favor?
Aye.
It's approved.
Thank you.
All right. Now moving on to discussion items, 11A, Superintendent Dempsey.
Madam President, board members, or Madam Vice President, I'm sorry. New Mexico School Superintendent Association legislative platform. Now, I want to keep in mind, the board to keep in mind, this is a draft. It hasn't formally been moved on by the governing body. However, it's been through multiple iterations, and I think we're really close to a final approval. What I would point out to you, and this is this is one of the associations that's going to lobby very hard for public education. You're going to see language in here that speak to local control and sufficiency. And when the School Boards Association, when the Superintendent's Association refer to that, what they're trying to emphasize is local elected officials at the district level have power and authority over the decisions that are done in schools. And sometimes there's a little bit of a power struggle with some of that. And you'll see it typically it'll come in terms of like funding streams. So if you do this, this, and this, you can access these dollars. Well, if a school board decides, I'm not necessarily interested in that, I want to do something else, that kind of becomes a little bit of a problem, right? Obviously, those are state dollars that we want to gain access to help build programs for our students, but we may not want to do it a certain way. And so as we experience this long legislative session coming up in January, I would encourage you to watch for that and try to understand how local control at times gets challenged. Now, the flip side of that coin, when you look at the state as a whole, you'll have legislators say, hey, look, we're spending a lot of money and I want to see results. And so I think we have to shoulder, if we have an opinion about local control, we have to shoulder the responsibility, say, you're absolutely right. And that's why we're going to build programs that allow our kids to excel, and we're going to show that ability to grow and improve. So watch for that. You're going to hear a ton of conversations all the time around cash and operational reserves. And they use a lot of different terms. One thing I get a little bit upset with, and I voice this every single year in the legislature, is our legislators get handed a spreadsheet. And that spreadsheet will have every district on it, and they'll have a dollar amount in cash balance. What does that dollar amount represent? There's never a story behind it. There's never any context provided. And for us, as an example, we have 3 middle schools in the queue to be built. Somewhere around $25 to $30 million match required. Those are big dollar amounts for us. And so right now we do have a heavy cash balance over the course of the construction of these middle schools. And I'll remind you, we're building above adequacy. So we're going above and beyond for our kids to have extra things in those schools and our staff. We need those dollars to be able to accomplish that. So you hear a lot of conversations around cash balance. Again, I believe that's a local controlled decision, and I think local officials are best poised to make those decisions. But you're going to hear a lot of different thoughts around cash balance. It came up last time, and I appreciate Ms. Rodriguez for bringing this up, transportation. It's part of the Superintendent Association's legislative platform. That's how important we think it is transportation. We have to supplement the dollars we receive for route buses out of our operational. If the state funded transportation in its entirety, for us, that's about $1 million right back into classrooms. But right now, we have to put that $1 million into transportation. Insurance costs, huge factor that impacts our employees directly. Last year, we kind of lost sight of this, I'll be honest with you. For some reason, we did not pay attention to the increases that were proposed during the legislative session. And initially, they were as high as 17% increases, which is enormous. After our budgets were due, the legislature came back and they appropriated an additional amount that reduced that to about 9%, I believe. But keep in mind that insurance costs are a factor we will be dealing with every single year, and we've got to figure out what's the best way to take care of our employees and make sure they're covered with the type of things they need. I served on the NIMSIA board for several years, and I'll tell you that one of the factors that impact NIMSIA, and understand that NIMSIA represents all school districts in the state of New Mexico except Albuquerque Public Schools. It's all the rest of us. We're all in a pool. So if a mistake happens at a district and a payout occurs, all of us pay for that. And so it's really important that we run really clean practices, we take care of things that need to be taken care of, and we address them so we don't end up in settlements and things of that nature and cost the entire pool a lot of money. So just keep that in mind as we're going through that. You're going to hear some conversation around what we call open door budget. What's it cost to open the door in every school? And some district that's going to look a little bit different, but you're talking about utilities. You're talking about staffing. You're talking about what's it take just to turn on the lights, open the doors. And to me and to the Superintendent Association, that's the base, that's the bottom level. We don't want to build a system that's just a barely open the door system. We want to build a system that allows kids to excel and has all kinds of opportunities. And I think New Mexico is still struggling with that. And I think you see that in terms of the lack of real response, in my opinion, to the Yazzie Martinez lawsuit, which still has yet to be settled. And PED has still not submitted a plan to the judge that says, here's what we're going to do with this. Now, if you spent a little time in Yazzie Martinez, you'll find that one of the biggest things that is discussed in it is technology, access to technology for students. And I'm really proud to say, and Ms. Villalobos is the big driving force behind it, and Mr. Snowdy, is their work in terms of making sure our students have access to the very best technology is second to none. We have provided some things that have not been provided. If many of you that were here when we approved the broadband project, typically we reach out to the state for guidance. They had nobody that could guide us. They had nobody that could pull this off. We had to figure it out on our own. And I'm really proud to say that with Mr. Snowdy and Ms. Villalobos, we figured it out. Took a lot of work on our part. That's one of the key components of Yazzie Martinez. And we were already ahead of that game. Now, many districts aren't, but we are, we're not perfect, but we definitely have taken steps in the right direction to address those kind of things. You're going to hear Superintendent Association talk about return to work. So return to work programs, if you're not aware, those are opportunities for staff to temporarily leave the profession and then come back. And when they come back, what they're doing is they're earning retirement and they're earning a salary, and that's a return to work. The rules on that have shifted several times. There used to be a provision that would allow staff to sit out 1 year and then come back indefinitely. That is sunset and no longer exists. What we have right now is a staff member could sit out 90 days and come back for a maximum of 36 months. Superintendent Association is trying to push to say, let's increase that time that they can return to 72 months. I personally would like to see it indefinite. If we have if we have terrific teachers and somebody wants to sit out for 90 days and come back, I think we should be doing that. That's a ton of experience that we don't want to walk out the door on us. And for us, the fear for me a little bit is they could leave us and drive 10 minutes and be in another state. And I lost all that experience to another state. So I'm really hoping, and I see a lot of these, that legislators have a really good handle on it and support them. We talk about attendance, student attendance, social emotional learning, and behavioral supports and resources. Again, another place that I think we've taken some of the right steps. We don't have all the answers, but we are one of the few schools that have mental health therapists at our secondary schools. We need more of them, but we've taken some steps to make that happen without grants. Many districts took those steps, but they used ESSER and ART funds to do it, and now those dollars are going to be gone. So it's really difficult to keep those in place. So I think we've taken some steps in the right direction. We're going to continue to have those needs. Those students are going to continue to have those needs, and we're going to have to continue to probably expand how we offer mental health services, okay? And then the big one, which is going to be pretty controversial, I think, and it was last time, is the reinstitution of the State Board of Education. Remove Secretary of Education position and go back to a State Board of Education. And I'm hearing a lot of conversation about it. What I will say is that I can confidently say I'm hearing both sides of the aisle, Republican and Democrat, in support of this. They feel like there's been such incredible turnover that there's no stability within PED right now, and they really are looking for a change. How that happens, or whether it happens or not, now, the likelihood, think about how this would happen is a bill gets drafted, it goes through one side of the House, which, by the way, last year got through the House with one vote against, or the Senate, can't remember which side, got to the other side and got frozen. Now, the likelihood of what I think would happen is, let's say it gets through both houses. Well, it's going to go to the governor. Governor's not going to sign this. Now it's going to take a two-thirds vote from that entire body to pull it off. Some people are saying it's already there. I don't know if that's true or not. For me, I'll just sit in the galley and watch this happen to see if it actually occurs or not. But it is a very serious and heated conversation. So just be aware if that comes your way. Any questions about the New Mexico School Superintendent Association legislative platform?
Madam Vice President.
Go ahead, Mr. Morales.
I have one question and one comment. The question is, what's the timeline for us do you see for this board to either approve or disapprove or lay down our stuff? When is it going to be an action item for us?
Madam Vice President, Mr. Morales, what I would say is that we as an individual board have never done, per se, our own legislative platform. We absolutely could do that. If that's something that is that the board would like to see done, we absolutely could do that. What I might recommend is maybe you assign two board members to a small committee, work with myself and maybe a couple others, and we can get something in place and then bring it back in a regular meeting and maybe get approval from the entire board on it.
So again, the timeline that we would really want to vote on this, on whatever the action is with this board, is that in December?
My recommendation would get started immediately. You'd want to assign those groups and get started immediately because you want to have that in place probably by mid-November. You want to be pretty solid on it.
Okay, so then we want to have an action item in mid-November, right?
Yes, sir.
Right.
Okay,
Madam Vice
and
President.
then my comment is that, given all the information and, myself, I need more time to study and internalize the implications of everything. So I don't have any other comment. I was just trying to figure out how much time I have to study this.
Sure.
Thank you. Go ahead, Ms. Morales. Ms. Murillo.
Wouldn't this fall under the priorities that we are writing? Wouldn't that, is that, you know what I mean? We're working on the priorities, wouldn't that be fall into that? Or you're talking about not doing that anymore and then now doing your own platform? Because I thought we were doing the legislative priorities.
We are
Ms.
doing
Bonilla.
legislative priorities, but the second one is for the school board, 11B. But the thing is that there's two sources that we asked them to look into. One was a superintendent's association, and the other one was the school board association, and asked them to present, what are their platforms so that we can develop our own. So I'm just trying to figure out when we need to make a decision as to how to move forward.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I think that one discussion item 11A is the platform that the legislative, what we're seeing here, right? That's a draft. That's the draft for the superintendent, New Mexico School Superintendents Association, right? So that has nothing really directly with us because it's what the superintendents are, the proposals per se, or, so I think that, that is a discussion item for this specific thing. And I do believe possibly going into discussion item 11B, that's where we would have to, the questions that you are asking, I think it would apply more directly to that one.
Yeah, well, either way, the information that Mr. Dempsey is presenting will give us a foundation to establish our own priorities. So if
Correct.
we're familiar with the Superintendent's Association, maybe we can make that one of our priorities. It's just that he separated them like we asked him to do, between the Superintendent's Association, what's their platform, and the School Board Association. Then we make our own decisions as to what we want to support. So either way, it's just more information, and we can develop our own and just say we're going to do our own thing. But now we have the information from the Superintendent Association and the School Board Association.
So one of the things I think I will add to that is that definitely looking at this draft will give us more leverage, right? As for if it's something that they already have, and do we want to continue with that and push for that? So definitely, I see what you're saying. That it would benefit to understand where they're coming from and what it is that they're looking at. I do appreciate. There's several things. All of the ones that are here are. I think I would agree with all of them, but definitely the cash operational reserves. I think that one is a critical part because it does affect us locally, because there's not that understanding of what it looks like. And, once you see that spreadsheet, you see all the numbers and you say, well, the districts have a lot of money. Well, yes, if there is a lot of money, but how is it being utilized, right? So then understanding that portion, and I see that A with B would be, that's where we need to analyze and say, okay, what else can we do to like I say, create more leverage on those specific areas. Any other questions, comments? No? Okay, so moving on to discussion item 11B, the NMSBA legislative priorities. Superintendent.
Madam Vice President, board members, and I really appreciate everybody pointing out, the Superintendent Association calls it a platform. The School Boards Association calls it their legislative priorities. We can call it whatever you guys choose. Same idea though, and I don't want us to get confused on that. It really is the same idea. And you're going to hear some very similar items. So first item for the New Mexico School Board Association, local decision making. Okay, you're going to really hear this from the School Boards Association. They want to make sure that local boards are making decisions on what's best for their students and communities that they serve. Second item, school flexibility. Now, if you'll read, those of you that have been here a couple of years, last year there was a pretty big conversation and sort of a power struggle over 4-day weeks. And then it turned into hours, right? And the 4-day week didn't affect us, but the hours absolutely affected us, right? And so, again, the School Board Association is saying, hey, look, school boards, local school boards are best poised to make decisions on what's best for them. So that's a biggie. Adequate funding. Typically, the New Mexico School Boards Association includes a term like this of adequate funding. And the example that they used last year, so the only one that I have, I'm sorry, I should have started there. The only item that I have to show you is last year's School Board Association. In December, at the annual convention, that's where the legislative priorities get determined. But they don't change a lot. Okay, so I'm telling you what was used last year, and I think it's likely similar language in the future. They talked about adequate funding, and they include provide a competitive benefit package, including a decrease in employee healthcare cost to 20%. So cap those at 20%. So again, insurance expenses. Insurance is expensive, and we got to find ways to control that. The core education mission. This kind of comes down to that open door expenses, if you will. What's it cost to run your buses? What's transportation expenses? And so they talk specifically about transportation. So again, a similar theme, recurring funding. So something to always be thoughtful of is when we're talking about dollars in schools, is it recurring dollars? Meaning it's going to come in year after year and it's easy to use it for like staff? Or is it one-time allocations? Right? And that's how, we want to make sure we understand those pieces. Both are important. School district operating reserves, cash balance. Again, another conversation that says we think local boards are best poised to do that. Student safety and student and staff safety. So this one, last year, it really focused last year on like social emotional health. But I think as we are seeing some things that everybody in New Mexico, and basically everyone in the nation is experiencing, is some of our safety protocols need to be addressed. And they really need our state to get involved and set some clear expectations on what we can or cannot do. And so just kind of watch for that. Talk about culturally and linguistically responsive curriculum. This is really important for our kiddos, right? Making sure we're offering opportunities for students in both English and Spanish to excel. It'd be great at some point if we could add other languages, right? Language is a strength of our kids. And so those are other possibilities. To do that, we need dollars from the state to actually do that. I've talked many times and presented in front of several committees about dual language and how when you talk about a school that's dual language, you have to really dig into that model and ask yourself, what are we talking about? Because it comes down to funding. We have schools that are dual language schools that are what's called self-contained classrooms. So the same teacher provides the instruction in both languages. That's self-contained. That costs me one FTE, at least one at every grade level, probably more, but the other model is partners. So I have one that does the English component, one does the Spanish component. That costs two, right? And then we also have non-participant classrooms. So initially families may enroll their students in dual language. For some reason they decide to disenroll them. I got to put them somewhere, and we call that a non-participant classroom. 3 FTEs. So you see how the cost of this, you really have to understand the model to understand how much it's going to cost to serve it, right, and service it. So just those are kind of things to think about. A lot of our legislators don't know those things. So when we talk to legislators, I have to remind them a lot about what that looks like and what the possibilities are. And then capital outlay. Capital outlay is a piece probably the School Boards Association has done the very best job of ensuring that as the state's revenue streams have increased, that schools have more and more access to try to take care of buildings and facilities now. And I think it's really wise to do so. Keep in mind that our executive director for the School Boards Association also serves on the Public School Capital Outlay Council. So that benefits us because he helps to allocate. That committee is tasked with allocating those dollars for capital outlay. And then the one that they always will include is unfunded mandates. And what they mean by an unfunded mandate is some statute changes or gets added or a new one, but there's no money attached to it. So it requires the school to do something, but there's no dollars to hire somebody or help make it happen. So we watch really closely for legislation that we might think is good legislation, but if there's no dollars, if there's not an appropriation with it, many, many times the School Board Association will stand in opposition to it because it's an unfunded mandate. Questions?
I just have one comment, same comment as before. I need more time to study and internalize the implications of everything that's being offered today.
Thank you, Mr. Morales. One of the things that I just wanted to mention is like the student and safety, staff safety. I like the way it was presented previously where it says the MLSs because I think it just, well, it's pretty well-rounded, right? It's not just one area, but several things would be covered with that. So even though that the NMSBA has the, specifically student and staff safety, there's other things that fall into that. So that's just a comment. Anything else? No? Okay. Moving on to discussion item 11C, the school budgeting fundamentals.
Madam Vice President, board members, there was a little bit of a request to start reviewing some of the fundamentals of school budgeting. So Ms. Martinez has prepared a short presentation for you to help just understand how does our operational budget get generated. And so, Ms. Martinez.
Thank you. Good evening, Madam Vice President, members of the board. Today I will be going over the operational fund, specifically the main source of revenue, which is the state equalization guarantee. So I like to think of the operational fund as a bucket. And in this bucket, the purpose of this bucket is to hold the resources necessary to run the day-to-day operations of the district. So that's salaries, benefits, utilities, buy supplies and materials. And in this bucket, every day you have revenues coming in or money coming in and then revenues going out. And what we're going to discuss today is the main source or the main thing that fills up this bucket. It fills up about 95% of the bucket, and that is the state equalization guarantee. There are four things, I think, there are four things you should know about the state equalization guarantee. First is the student-based formula designated to equalize educational opportunities for all students. It is based on prior year's 80th and 120th day average student membership. The formula factors have varying weights as determined by legislation, and for the unit value is set twice a year. In March, we get the initial unit value, and in February, we get the final unit value. So this is what the funding formula reads like. Average student membership times weighted factor equals program units times unit value equals SCG. I know that's a lot, so we're going to revisit the 910B5 form. The 910B5 form is Excel spreadsheet that PED uses to calculate the SCG. Okay. So we'll start with the first section. So it's the basic programs units. And so if you read up at the top, it says 2425 preliminary state equalization guarantee. Preliminary basically says it's temporary and it's subject to change. Then you have some dates here on the right, and that's second reporting period, third and first. These days are important because it relays back to the formula. Those are dates that we use in the formula. So if you look here at the 80th, 120th date average membership, you have your grade levels, and there's a count that's taken on December 1st, which is your second reporting period, and your third reporting period, which is February 14th. And those student counts are, you take the average, and then you multiply them times the factors, which are here on the right, and you get the program units. So you can see here that our total program units are 13,994.53. Now, if you look down at the bottom green cell, our total membership is it's 11,619.25. Okay, so once we have our total membership units, then we add on a staffing cost multiplier. The multiplier serves to cover the cost of the higher cost of licensed teachers in our district. So what it uses a TCI factor. The TCI is a metrics that assigns a index to each teacher. And the index is based on the teacher licensure level and the year's experience. The higher the licensure level and the year's experience, the higher the index, the higher the TCA, and the more money to our district. So you can see here that it's 1.07 for the staff cost multiplier. So then your adjusted membership program units are 14,974.15. Now the basic program units are the core of the SCG formula. That is where the majority of the formula SCG the formula's SCG units come from. The sections of the formula generate the necessary units to fund the cost of basic education for all students. The next slide. Okay. So then we have special units and other programs. So we have our special education program units and our bilingual units. Additional units are applied for students with special needs, such as those in special education, English language learners, and students in gifted programs. This section of the formula provides extra funding for services necessary to support the students. So here again, you have the average membership, and usually the higher the level of service for the student, the higher the weighted factor. We also have elementary for fine arts program and the elementary PE programs. These are not considered part of the basic education program, so there are units allocated for these two programs. The next slide, please. Then you have needs based on geographical factors. So you have the size adjustment and the rural population. Additional programs are given based on the size of the school or the size of the school district and the rurality of the geographical area. This is because small and rural districts have a disadvantage of diseconomies of scale. The cost per student is lower in larger districts. So an example of this would be the salary for a superintendent. Say you have a larger district that has 30,000 students and a smaller district that has 1,000 students. The superintendent's salary may be higher at the larger district and 100,000 at our smaller district, but when you calculate the cost per student, the cost is lower at the larger district. And again, this is the cost per student is lower. I guess there's an advantage to that. The other thing is that the size adjustment unit is being phased out. So that's being phased out as of 2024. And now we're using the rural population as a measurement. So you can see here that there you have the 11,619.25, which is our basic membership program, multiplied by the rural population rate, which is 53.6%, and that's per the U.S. Census. And because that rate is higher than the 40%, then we get additional units generated through that with a factor of 0.15. Next slide. So other student needs. At-risk students are those usually from low income and have low performance. And there is an at-risk index that's calculated for this. That is based on 3 factors, which is low income, English language learners, and mobility of students. And I know it's like a 3-year percentage average. And so this year our rate was 0.312, and that is applied to our basic membership total, and it comes out to 3,625.2. The thing you should know is that about 152 units equal $1 million. So you can see that that's pretty significant funding for our district. The growth. In 2023-24, our 40-day membership was 11,657. If there's a growth of at least 1%, then we qualify for additional units. Now, if you look at that, the number inside of it, it's a projected membership. So our 40th date was yesterday. So this is a projection. We don't know what that number is going to look like. So Right now, we forecasted higher numbers, so those units went up. But when it comes to counting the real numbers, it might go down, it might stay the same, or it might go up. So this is when I say that the formula is preliminary, because there are some things that will change in the formula and will end up changing our SCG. Then we have the National Board Certified Teachers, and this is teachers that have been certified by the National Board of Teacher Standards and were employed with the district prior to the 40th day, where we receive a 1.5 factor, or 19.5 units for that. Homeschool Student Program. These are units allocated for homeschool students that are enrolled in our schools, not enough to be considered a student, but still a cost to the district. We have none, so there's nothing there. And then we have homeschool student activities, and those would be in regard to curricular, co-curricular, and I think there's 3 courses. And then we have charter school student activities, same concept, but for a charter school. We also have the new district adjustment, so those would be additional units for if you're creating a new district or you're an existing district, and there's loss in membership because there was a district that came to be. Next slide. Okay. And then other student needs, we do know that we have the K-5 program, which generates additional units if a district exceeds a particular number of instructional days. There's 2 tiers. The first tier includes a 0.012 student, a factor of 0.012 per student for each additional day over 180. And tier 2 is 0.016 for instructional days over 190. You can see that we have some units on there, and that's because our elementaries, I think, came in at 184. So those 4 days kind of generated some units for us. And then you have the same harmless, which is basically holds you harmless if you're. This mostly applies to smaller schools. So if there was a sudden drop in membership, then they would hold you harmless. I think the last time I heard something like this was when the pandemic hit. Obviously, kids weren't showing up to school, so when they were doing counts, they weren't there. And so that, I think, would be an example of when that's applied. Next slide, please. So if you take all the units, the program units, and you add them up, then you come up to this grand total program units, which is the 25,576,200. And that you multiply times the unit value. Again, the unit value is set twice a year. It's at the beginning of the year. We actually receive that initial unit value prior to going to put our budget together. And then we receive a final unit value in February. This year, it worked a little bit different because when we planned our budget, we were given an initial unit value of 6,422, and then later it was revised to 6,553. So I did update the formula to include the updated unit value, and so our program cost, our total program cost is $167,620,020.75. So in addition to that, you have the charter school admin withholding. We don't have a charter school, so that doesn't apply to us. And then you have the an 100% energy renewable bonds, which is a program that allows energy capital improvements. And if you apply it, then there's a 90% adjustment. And that totals your SCG. Next slide. So the operational fund total revenues is a combination of the biggest portion is the state equalization guarantee, which is about 95%. You also have other revenues that come in, like interest income, refund of prior years, fees, little things like that. And they don't constitute a big percentage of what comes in. And then you have your cash balance. And your cash balance is the amount of money you have on hand at a given point in time, and usually, and that date is June 30th, 2020, or, for the year 2024, I guess for this year. And so when you add those three elements together, that becomes your revenue for the operational fund. That concludes my presentation. Questions, comments?
Questions, comments?
I know it's
You need to be recognized.
I think we will take all of that and process it, and it's great information. But, go ahead, Mr. Morales.
All right, thank you for that. I really, really do appreciate you putting that together. I think it's a very good start to, understanding how the school budget works as opposed to other budgets. What I would suggest the administration consider is putting together workshops for the school board and for other people that are curious as to how the one works, and maybe title them, maybe operational, one that just focuses on operational, a couple hours, and maybe federal grants, maybe collective bargaining, how it affects the budget, and maybe state funding. However, just ideas. And it'd be nice if maybe next semester there could be like maybe the first workshop, and then starting in the new fiscal year, having a budget workshop, maybe once a quarter, just to touch on certain topics, especially stuff that's coming up. I think it would make everybody's understanding of the budget a lot more coherent. And then the other thing that I would like the administration to consider is again, I'm not asking this question now because I'm sure it's, I've been told cut budgets, and it's like, okay, yeah, cut it 3%, where? And you have to figure out where you can and where you can't. But I would like the administration to consider what it would take to increase the salary for level 1 and level 2 teachers, to make it a little more competitive.
Madam Vice President, board members, those are terrific suggestions. Those are always things we want to hear and work on. I would also share that it is part of the requirement to have budget workshops in the spring. So as we build towards that budget, Ms. Martinez and her team will have at least one, maybe two budget workshops as we work towards the final approval. And I really like the idea of, on a quarterly basis, kind of taking a look at it, because there's so many complicated pieces to it. It's nice to see it multiple times and then eventually get a little bit more comfortable with it. So we will definitely have those opportunities for you in the future.
Thank you, Ms. Martinez.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to discussion item 11D, the request for translators.
Madam Vice President, board members, this was a request from President Flores, and unfortunately she's not with us tonight. And I think I can speak to it a little bit. We did have an individual approach us with some concerns associated with sitting in an IEP meeting and maybe not understanding or having the right appropriate translation available to them. And when this is a budget conversation, without a doubt, I don't know if we can do anything right now, but I just think that Ms. Flores wanted to put that on everybody's radar of a future request to consider having full-time translators available so that parents are sure to understand. Especially in an IEP meeting or a 504 meeting, there's a lot of legalities to that. And those legal terms are not always something that everybody understands. And we want to make sure we're giving parents all the information they need to be the right advocate for their child. And so that was, I think, the gist of it. I'll let her maybe at a future meeting kind of share her thoughts on that. The board.
May I suggest that we just add this discussion item to the next meeting?
Sure. I think that's a possibility once President Salazar. I just wanted to also add on that. I think that not only when the IEPs or 504s, when those meetings are happening, but I think that's something that we truly need is whenever documents are sent out to parents or any flyers, sometimes the translation is not, I think Google Docs for Google Translation helps, but it's not very legit. So I think even for that, I think it would be a benefit if we have several that are able to support in that area. Okay. Anything else? Questions, concerns? No? Okay, we'll move on to discussion item 11E, the update on the Chaparral safety meeting.
Madam Vice President, board members, so just to give the board a little bit of an update on the Chaparral Community Meeting. The meeting occurred on September 24th, I believe. We had, I didn't count exactly, but I would estimate somewhere between 100 and 120 individuals. So, a good turnout. Each individual was given a note card, and they could write on it any questions or suggestions they had. And then if they wanted a callback or a conversation one-on-one, they'd put their name and phone number, we'd contact them. Ms. Villalobos and I spent quite a bit of time this week trying to reach out to 28 individuals who had filled out that card and gave us some, said they wanted to have a conversation with us. Not all of them, unfortunately, some we had to leave messages with, some the numbers, they didn't pick up. But I would say that we got to have some really good conversations. What I will share with the board, I want you to be aware of this. One of the requests that the Chaparral community made is they really wanted to see us take a step forward. They were dealing with those anonymous responses, really, or anonymous reports. And it was just, quite frankly, just upending everybody's day. And I think they were, I know I was frustrated, and I know they were frustrated. So one of their requests, I can give you an example, was to implement a clear backpack policy. And so after looking at that, sitting down with federal programs, we've ordered clear backpacks for all secondary schools. So as soon as they arrive, we'll issue those. And it just, there's going to be a little bit of adjustment. You might hear, I got to have some good conversation with the parents about, some were against it, some were for it. But I also think that it was important to take a step. There's a lot of frustration in I think in Chaparral, in that they feel at times ignored or neglected. And I don't want them to feel that way. I don't want those families, they're just as important as all of them. And all of our kids and families are important. So I really wanted to take a step, so we did that. The other thing we did is we always leave a little bit of slack in our budget in case, a lot of times at the beginning of the year, it's kinder teachers. It's really hard to estimate how many kinder classrooms you're going to need. And there's very strict rules with kinder classrooms. So once you get 16 students, you got to have an IA. Once you get 20 students, you got to have another teacher. So you always build a little slack as you build this budget. I think we did a pretty good job this year, and we had a little bit of slack. So we added 3 security personnel. So we had a little room. It's going to take us time to advertise and then hire those positions, but that's some additional security personnel that will be in the district. That's not just for Chaparral, but it will be in the district, and that's going to help our security team, just more eyes out there watching for what's going on. Our security team and Mr. Ortega, they do a fabulous job of making sure, we got some of the best trained school security right now that, in a short time, we've really come a long ways with it. And good equipment for them, good training for them. And so those are the things that we've taken step forward. So one of their big requests is metal detectors. There's a lot of legalities here. I've reached out to legal, tried to get a feel for what all this would take. I'm going to tell you, one of the biggest pieces of this is if we choose to go there, think about every door in a high school, or whatever door you allow access to, that you have a metal detector. It has to be staffed by a male and a female security guard. As students are walking in, if that goes off, if it's a female student, it has to be searched by female. Male student has to be searched by male. That's going to be difficult to do. That is going to be a real challenge to pull that off. So I've talked to them about that, shared it with them. For the most part, I think I can say the parents feel good that we're taking steps, and they do want to see more action. At the end of the day, and I feel like, we've had this conversation so many times, they're probably not going to be happy until there's an armed officer, an SRO, on Chaparral High School. And I support that request. I can't make that happen. I don't have the authority and power to do so, but I think over time we can put some things in place that eventually it will happen. I'm convinced that some of the powers to be are hearing that now. We did have one of our county commissioners participate in the meeting. And I think he heard loud and clear what that community expects. And so, that I guess is my update. I'll try to answer any questions, individual questions you might have. I don't know if anybody reached out to any of you.
Go ahead, Mr.
I
Morales.
do. You said that there was some slack in the budget to fund these backpacks. What part of the budget?
So what we'll do is we call it slack. And so typically as we build our operational budget, we may build like 6 positions for slack. It'll be based on like a level 3 teacher with benefits salary. So we build that in operational, and it's under staffing, if you will. So that way, if we have a giant kindergarten class pop up at Berino, we can immediately respond and get a kindergarten teacher there. Again, we don't always use that slack. Sometimes we use every bit of it. This year we didn't have to, and then a level 3 teacher is far more expensive than an incoming security. So that gives me a little bit more room. So is that, I think
I was referring to the funding used to purchase the backpacks.
Oh, I'm sorry, backpacks. That was federal programs. So Ms. Villalobos was able to help me with that. I apologize.
And then I'm concerned about the clear backpacks from a invasion of privacy issue, especially because, I'm a single dad of a young lady now, but I did everything that I could to protect her. Mm-hmm. And I'm really, really concerned that having a clear backpack does not give young female students the privacy that they need. Again, I think that before you distribute them, that the district should look at the impact and how that could affect those students. I'm just really concerned about that. I don't think that was the right answer initially. It might be the right answer. I don't know. But that's very concerning to me.
Madam Vice President and board members, I will share that I did speak to a couple of mothers that had a similar concern. And what I shared with them is that we also, as we roll this out, we want to have some reasonable expectations. And so there may be items that they need, they want to conceal a little bit. And so a small package or something of that nature, we're not going to have a fit over. We're not going to lose our mind over it. But the idea is that you can't keep a weapon in there. You can see through it. So we're going to have to come up with some balance here. I realize there's going to have to be some reasonable give and take here. And I will share with you, I raised 2 daughters, coached girls basketball for 13 years. Understand that there's some needs that our young ladies have, and we want to make sure that, again, we're very reasonable. I believe in our principals, and I believe that they can establish something that is very reasonable, and that way they have what they need, and we don't violate any of their personal rights.
In the last comment that I had is that, should this go forward, that the implementation process is something that's gradual. I heard some concerns about some other policies that were pushed down from one day to the next previously with this board, and it made it difficult for our administrators and for people in the school to adjust. So I would think that the implementation process of whatever changes are made is gradual and that people are informed.
Thank you. I just want to also make a comment on the, well, first of all, I appreciate that you all took the time to listen to the community, right? Because sometimes it's creating that awareness. Sometimes as parents, we don't understand that there's a process and things take a little bit longer. So that's great that they have received that information. And, you mentioned things going to take some time, right? I hope that they truly understand that it's not that they're not being heard. So parents, please know that this information that was given or the input, they have considered it, but it takes time. So sometimes we expect things to be done immediately, and it doesn't work that way, right? Because there's certain things that need to be done prior to. But again, thank you for taking the time, and I think that we do need to understand that we're a district. We're one district. It's not Chaparral, it's not Santa Teresa, it's not the Gadsden area. It's a one district. So know that I think as a board, we all are in tune with that, right? That we service the whole district and not just specific areas. But again, thank you for following up on that.
Yes, ma'am.
So now moving on to, I'm sorry, there wasn't any other questions, right? No. Okay. Moving on to the discussion item 11F, the Gadsden Middle School demolition status update.
Madam Vice President, board members, and Ms. Cadena, I'm not saying you have to, but if you have anything to add, please do so. What I would share with you, our first step of demo is abatement. It takes time, right? And I know you might have been hearing from individuals who drive by and say, nothing's happening. Well, abatement takes time. It's very tedious because that dust that is in, that is asbestos, that's what's dangerous. So it takes time to get that removed. That has been removed, and demo officially began yesterday. And so we are on. And so keep watching. I believe it started in one of the back areas, but keep watching. And I'm more excited to see what gets built there than watching it come down. But it'll be great.
Any questions, comments? No. I want to add just that it is important, right? Because again, there's a process and people do not understand. And yes, I did hear several people that mentioned that, right? Like they said they're going to demolish it, but nothing's happening. So I did talk to several people, specifically and said, okay, this is what's happening and it takes time. But I don't think everyone understands that, right? And I still have some community members approach and say, hey, what's happening? It's not going to be done by the time they said. So I'm hoping, I don't know if it's looking pretty good. I mean, demolition is already going to be done it has started. But is it really moving forward? Does it the time frame that was given initially, is it still looking? I mean, we can't predict it completely, right? Because there's changes always. But as we are looking at it right now, more or less.
Madam Vice President, board members, what I would say is that I think we're on track. I don't see a major shift in this. Demo goes fast. And then there'll be big pieces that'll go fast, and then there's the details, right? And usually that takes a little bit of time to work through those pieces, but I think we're on track. And in our area, the other good thing is we typically have weather that allows us to work almost year round. So that's a huge benefit, and not every community has that. And so I think we'll be fine. I think the timeline still holds, and we'll as we start moving through it, we'll be able to give the board updates on that. How it goes.
Great, thank you. So we're moving on to discussion item 11G, the Gadsden Middle School groundbreaking ceremony.
Madam Vice President, board members, so we do have a ceremony scheduled to make it official. That is going to be Monday, October 14th at 10 a.m. at the Gadsden Middle School. So we'll do a little ceremony, and maybe we can get something visible from the street so that people see action is taking place. Yeah.
Questions, concerns? No, I one question. So for that ceremony, will the families be invited, or what's the plan for that?
Madam Vice President, board members, we absolutely can do an announcement and invite anyone. We have plenty of space there, plenty of room. We'd love to have you guys join us. It's just hopefully a nice time to celebrate something new. And there'll be probably some people who might feel like you want to reminisce a little bit.
Go ahead.
I just have a question. Did Mr. Castillo ask you to go get some dirt from there? Because we had to say no to that.
All right. Moving on to discussion item 11H, the GISD policy GBK, staff grievances, and G1900, GBP, the whistleblower retaliatory.
Madam Vice President, board members, Ms. Burciaga and Ms. Mejia will present this item.
Good evening, Madam Vice President, members of the board, and Superintendent Dempsey. I'm going to begin with a policy titled G1900, Prohibited Personnel Practices. In this policy, it lists specific protected activities in which employees can engage in without the fear of reprisal or retaliation. It's very specific to 3 protected activities, and this directly relates to anything that is unlawful conduct, criminal activity, fraud, misconduct in that category, or in those categories. Specifically, the protected activities are reporting unlawful or improper activities to public bodies like the NMPED, like the Office of Civil Rights, or any third party. Providing information or testifying before a public body, meaning coming here to a board meeting and reporting to you all information, or testifying as a part of a hearing, giving you information. That is a protected activity. Retaliation is prohibited for that employee. Also, objecting or refusing to participate in unlawful or improper activities. An example for this would be a teacher is being asked to read test questions to their group of students, knowing that that is against the testing policy, against the law. Reporting that would then, that person would be protected from any retaliatory action. The policy goes on to also outline other prohibited practices by governing boards or public boards like yourselves and public employees like ourselves. This then, a reporter, an employee who reports or blows the whistle, is that whistleblower, and that's where that whistleblower protection comes from. When we talk about retaliation, we're being specific to retaliation in the form of adverse employment actions, like demotion, termination, reassignment, or a supervisor causing a hostile environment because you've participated in protected activities. I recall in our last board meeting, there was a question about this policy, and so we bring it for you today, as well as allowing us all to review the different grievance procedures for all of the different scenarios that we can have in our school district when it comes to reporting or communicating a concern or a grievance of some type. We have several that we have ready to present to you today.
Good evening, Madam Vice President, members of the board, Superintendent Dempsey. What I would like to review with you right now is our third bullet in our presentation. It has 3 processes that we have in our human resource department that we use. When it comes to an employee reporting an unlawful conduct like whistleblowing, the employee grievance process is not the most appropriate to follow. We would follow our employee discipline matrix. Why? Because it is more intense, it is an investigation that occurs, and it also has measures that prohibits and prevents retaliation. So if there is an act that falls under the whistleblower policy, then we begin our employee discipline matrix, and we begin with an intake. In that intake, we actually would remove and put that employee on administrative leave. When we do that, we meet with the employee, describe the allegations, and we also give them in writing that retaliation is prohibited. So the employee is removed, we begin our investigation, and it's in depth, it takes time. We give then the employee due process at that point. Once we've heard due process, then we come in and we actually make decisions as to what the discipline will be for that employee. No matter what the discipline that is issued at that time to the employee in writing is, when it's given, there is always a written statement about retaliation being prohibited. So that really is our matrix. It would be used in regard to whistleblower. For our grievance process, which we reviewed last time, we use this process for our interpersonal disputes. We use it also for our processes that aren't being aligned or aren't being done properly. So for example, if a teacher has a complaint about their administrator in regards to removing them from a committee they've been on for many years, or them doing an evaluation at an inappropriate time, that would be more appropriate for grievance. But whistleblower, we take very serious, and we have a much formal process for that, which we refer to as the discipline matrix. The third process we have, which is federally mandated, is our Title IX process. And this is in relation, it could fall under whistleblower, but this is in relation
to anything related to sex, sexual assault, gender, and it has a more extensive process which takes months just because of the way the federal timeline is set up. So I wanted to present these three to you today so that you understand that depending on the act, depending on the complaint, we handle it differently and accordingly. We stand for questions at this point.
Go ahead, Mr. Morales.
Thank you. I just have two questions.
Sure.
When's the last time that the whistleblower policy was updated?
It has been some time. It has not been within our realm here in HR. I don't have that exact date.
We don't have a date for a review here with the district, but it was 2010, in 2010 when New Mexico adopted it. So after 2010.
Okay. And then the other thing, if you go back to the posting requirement.
For the whistleblower policy?
Yeah.
Yeah, can we
You
go back?
up.
It's the first bullet on the presentation.
Well, on the posting policy, where would it be? Where is it posted correct now here within the district? Is it in teacher lounges? Is it where?
Right now, it's posted on our website, and that's the only place that you will find it at this time.
Okay. So those are my two questions. Thank you. What I would suggest is that policy be updated to current standards, and that it be posted in places where employees can see it on a daily basis, so that they know that that they have an avenue. I wouldn't anticipate a lot of people using it, but it's a big difference that they know that they're being heard. That's my suggestion.
Okay, I think that's it. Thank you. All right, now moving on to discussion item 11I, presentation from the Workforce Solutions.
Madam Vice President, board members, we have a representative from New Mexico Workforce Solutions who will present to you.
Good afternoon, board members. Awesome. I didn't know if you were going to have the PowerPoint, but I'm happy for that. Thank you. As you guys know, I'm here just as a presentation from the Workforce Connection. My name is Hedy Ramirez, and I do serve as the operational manager for the youth program. We've been serving this youth program for a long, long time. I've been taking over for a year and a half now, and I want to bring this program to you guys, which it's been here, it's been around, but I do come to ask for assistance, and I'll tell you guys of what type of assistance at the end of the program. So if you can please go for the next slide. So the background of this program, of course, is the Workforce Innovation Opportunity Act. We call it the WIOA program. This is for a comprehensive youth employment program for serving eligible youth ages 16 to 24 who face barriers to education, training, or employment. Our goal is to provide in-school and out-of-school youth with career explorations and guidance, continued support for educational attainment, and work readiness skills that will assist youth and young adults with developing their career pathways and securing sustainable employment. Next slide, please. Now, how do the youth qualify? Next slide. So for the in-school youth eligibility processes, obviously they have to be attending school, which is a secondary or post-secondary, and ages 16 to 21 years old at the age of enrollment. They have to be low income, which we know that for the most part, the youth that live in this type of rural areas are low income considered. They have to meet at least one of the following barriers. One, being basic skill deficiency, English language learners, justice involved, homeless, runaway, foster care, pregnant or parenting, or they have a disability. For the out-of-school eligibility participants that would qualify for these type of programs would be a school dropout within the age of compulsory school attendance, but has attended in a specific time frame. A recipient of a secondary school diploma, that means if they graduated or but they didn't extend their education. Also, it's an individual who is subject to the juvenile or the adult justice system, the homeless, runaway, foster children, pregnant or parenting, or has a disability. Now, for the homeless, I do want to kind of concentrate on that. Homeless doesn't mean they're actually living, they're actually living in the streets, but for them to qualify, they could also have the problem of being living with their aunt, an uncle, a cousin. They're not living with their parents. That's also considered to be a homeless youth. Service provided for the in-school and out-of-school participants, we do paid work experience. And that is one of the ones that I really want to come and talk to you guys more about. But we also do career exploration. We do paid and unpaid internships. We personalize goal plannings. We guide and counsel them with any type of the career readiness. We do job search assistance, tutoring services, high school equivalency, labor market information, tuition assistance. We do support services. We do work readiness. We do incentives, career training, financial literacy, and workshops. Before we go to the next one, I do want to kind of focus a little bit more on the paid work experience because this is a subsidized program that we have federal and state funding where we can pay youth up to 240 hours for them to get trained or employed. So before I move to the next slide, this is why I'm here to ask you guys for any type of ideas or help that we can help our youth, especially in school, that are trying to get jobs. I know that we've done a very good job on getting some work sites. We're working with the city of Sunland Park. We're working with the chambers. But we understand that some of these kids, especially the in-school kids, we don't have anywhere else to place them as work sites. Now, what that means is, as you guys know, here in Sunland Park, we have a lot of cannabis. Unfortunately, whether depending on your guys' thoughts, we're not able to place any youth in cannabis because, again, this is a federal and state grant that does not allow us to place any kids there. So this is why I'm here, to see if we can collaborate or partnership with, so we can get these kids employed. I know I was a teacher for a long, long time, and I know that any extra help in the schools, in the classrooms, would definitely be a blessing for teachers. Nevertheless, if we subsidize and we pay for those wages, for these kids to get paid, we can do all the way to 240 hours of training, and we can have them trained, depending on the type of job that the kids want to do after they graduate. If they want to become teachers, why not put them as teacher assistant, teacher helpers? I know that we also have La Clínica de Familia in some of these high schools where we can place them as for medical assistants, or just learning the vocabulary. That's definitely something that we want to kind of assist the youth. If we can continue, please. Of course, we are So what we target is 14 program elements, and I'm not going to go over all of them just thoroughly, but of course we do the tutoring and services. We do the alternative secondary school services. These are more for the out-of-school participants. We try to encourage them to go back to a high school equivalency or a GED if that's the case. We do paid and unpaid work experience, as we talked about, the occupational skill trainings. We do a workshop for every individual that are enrolled in our program. They have to attend a 6-hour workshop, and we talk about labor marketing. We talk about getting them ready for work, for jobs. We're getting trained. We train them in some sort of mock interviews and resume building. And again, it's a very intense workshop, but they also get incentivized. Everything that we try to get these kids to do, we get them with incentives, paying them $100, and they will be obtaining a certificate. So that helps them, and it builds their resume as well. Educational offered concurrently within the same context of workforce preparation. We do adult mentoring. We follow up services. So after they're done with our services, they're not just there. We continue to follow up until they get a unsubsidized job, or if they're back into the education, if that's what they would like to do, or both, if possible. Comprehensive guidance and counseling, that's a part that we have our case managers do. We counsel them, we help them. A lot of the times when we get especially this type of youth, they don't know where to want to go. They don't want to know what they want to do. So we counsel them and we assist them to go into the next level of their lives. Financial literacy education, we do the entrepreneur skills training as well, and we transition to post-secondary education and training. And for the incentives, as I said, if they're in high school and they're going to be graduating any type of a certification, a state certification, we give them incentives such as $200. And this, believe it or not, it does incentivize the kids. They motivate them. We do have the funding. We're able to assist them if they're out of school kids and they dropped out of school and they end up getting the equivalency or even the GED. We incentivize them as well for them to continue and having to continue their education. Next, please. And I do stay for any questions, stand for any questions. I hope you guys do. Any comments?
Questions, comments?
I do have a question. So I met Heidi over the phone, over a Zoom meeting, trying to find funding for some of our individuals with disabilities last year. But I remember also last year, we were having a conversation with Mr. Dempsey, this was before you, Mr. Morales, but about how a lot of our students wanted to do the summer program with the county, but they couldn't because they didn't have the transportation to go over there. Remember the summer? So we were talking about, well, we should do our own here in Gadsden, and we didn't know what that looked like, and then we haven't had that conversation, but I was thinking, targeting that now, as it's October, for next summer, if that's something that we could look into. Also, having a lot of our students that, like she said, the dropouts, or they're leaving or they're being expelled, do we follow up with them? Do we we're done with them? But I just feel like we should have more resources, even for, the students that are leaving. And then I am seeing, there was one that I mentioned a couple of meetings ago, that Ms. Rosie was able to bring him back to school. He was homeless, in Chaparral area. But that's one of many that we might not even know, and so just knowing that you are a resource, and I just think, like, you're part of Sunland Park, and then we have the Gadsden district, in Sunland Park area, and I know you just don't cover here, Sunland Park, you go.
Correct. So we cover the southwest part of New Mexico. So from Socorro, New Mexico, all the way over here. So we do cover Chaparral, we do Grant, we do Gadsden, Sierra County, and we do operate all the counties. Now, I am very, my heart is here because I live here, of course, and I know that there is a need for these individuals, especially the underserved youth. Like you say, the ones that are dropping out, what's happening to them? Are we getting them back? How are we getting them? I know that it's, as a teacher and as the school, you guys, there's many hats that teachers carry, that the administrators carry, but at the same time, that's why I'm here to let you guys know there is a program where we have some sort of assistance to be able to help them and bring them back to either jobs. We understand that not every youth is going to be for school. That's something that we need to put our minds to, but there are also trade schools. There's also those short-term certifications that can also help and assist the youth that don't want the long-term education.
Thank you. So I have a question. Is there other programs within the workforce that support the youth, or is it just the specific one?
No, we have the pre-apprenticeships as well, and that's more towards the state. We are a nonprofit, but we work for a company, which is Equus, but we're under the umbrella of the Labor Department, which is the WIOA, which is Workforce Innovation Opportunity Act. But we always encourage, especially people to go in and look for our offices, because there's many of our services, not just youth, but there is also adult and program dislocators for on-the-job trainings that also, would qualify the families. But at this point, I'm the one that's kind of targeting the youth, because that's the program that I oversee.
So the reason I ask is because have you all worked with, I don't know if the name rings a bell, Arlene, I spaced her last name. No, Tinajero. Yes, with Arlene
Yes,
Tinajero.
so we actually have worked with Arlene Tinajero.
So the reason I ask that is because one of the problems or issues that I have is that when students are given high hopes, that something is going to be happening and it doesn't follow, it doesn't go through, that's where I have a little bit, and I hesitate, and I specifically speak about one student. The student provided all the paperwork at workforce, made a trip all the way over there, and there was this disconnect because there was a person that was in charge, they couldn't find a location, but yet the student was almost like oblivious of what was happening. Mm-hmm. All they were concerned about was getting the job, and they didn't get it. So that's where, if we want to create that partnership, we need to make sure that is happening, that it's not something that is being offered and it's out. I've heard about this program. It's been many years that I've known about this program, but I'm always, wondering what is happening, if there's that disconnect. I don't think that that's fair to anyone, right? To your program or to the students. So that's something, I just wanted to make that comment because it really, when I heard of this, when I knew about the situation, it was like, well, what's going to happen? This student is really hoping for this job, and it never happened at all.
Definitely, and I can testify on that because I was through the pre-apprenticeship program that I just talked about just right now. That's from the state. The person that was in charge was let go from one day to another. So I tried coming back again to assist this individual that you're talking about, because our program is different, but they do have to qualify, as I said. They have to have one of those barriers. If they don't have one of those barriers, then we cannot help them. Now, the pre-apprenticeship is more like an open program for anybody that are ages from the 16 to 24. And again, that's exactly what happened. I know exactly what youth you're talking about, so we try to come in and help them. But at that point, they didn't have that barrier at that moment.
So do you all have communication with the parents to let them know what the status is on that, or you just deal with the students?
No, we do both. Especially, if they're over 18, then we try to deal with the youth because we want to make sure that they start growing up, they start kind of making their own choices and decisions. But if they're under 18, then we're obligated to go with the parents. Not a lot of the times, I'll be very honest with you, especially those kids that are underserved and the kids that don't have parents or it's hard to get a hold of someone to be able to assist. But if they do have the parents, we try to help them with the parents. They have to actually legalize any type of documentation that we sent. The parents have to sign it as well.
Thank you.
No problem.
Any other questions, concerns? Mr.
Thank you. I have two questions. Where does your funding come from?
It's a federal funded program.
Awesome. What's the capacity?
It depends on funding. Our funding can change, and it has changed, to be quite honest. And I'll be very transparent. I've been with this program for a year and a half as an operational manager. So we've had a lot, and I know that a lot of people, a lot of funders have come and got this program, and they really haven't treated it the way it should have. But now I'm adding the quality of the program to be able to help every individual that comes into the doors. But right now, the numbers that we're serving is 220 participants. Now, the way that the federal funding is allocated is that we have to do 70% in our Doña Ana County, and 30% has to be in rural areas, which this area it's considered to be a rural area. And also, it's 75% out-of-school youth money that we have to spend, and 25% in school youth.
So for this county, it's about 140 positions, a little over?
For this county, no, because this is considered, for the county of Doña Ana, yes.
Yeah, so we're a little over 140.
Mm-hmm.
The question is for Mr. Dempsey. Do you think a job fair within the school is feasible? And in order to not overload the program, that the students would have to, meet the qualifications and then receive a recommendation from a teacher? Do you Do you think that that would be feasible?
Madam Vice President, board members, here's what I'd say. Let me bring this back to my team and let us chew on this a little bit. I don't know if a job fair is a terrible idea. What I don't want to do is what Ms. Rodriguez is. I don't want to make some promises and then not be able to deliver. So we might want to play with a few of these, and trust me, we can get you some names in the next 24 hours that we can probably plug in with you, and let's just see if we can make this thing work. And then, then we all trust it. And then I think a job fair eventually is a great idea, because then you get kids to make choices they're interested in. A lot of times we're making choices as adults we think they're interested in, but it'd be great for youth to be saying, oh no, I'm interested in this, and give them some choice there. I think that's really a strong component. Let me chew on this a little bit and let our team play with it, and we'll see what we can come up with. But I think I will say I think there's some really nice possibilities here.
Thank you. And there are many other programs, like I said, under the Workforce Innovation Opportunity Act. I just don't think that they've really been out here to be able to being talked about and really explored. But yes, thank you.
Thank you so much for your presentation. I don't think there's any other questions.
Nothing else. You guys don't have any
I'm
other
sorry.
questions? All right. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. All right, so we can move on to discussion item 11J, the presentation, New Mexico Wildlife Services.
Madam Vice President, board members, we're going to have a representative from New Mexico Wildlife Services now present.
Good afternoon, Madam Vice President, board members, and Superintendent. Thank you for this opportunity. Today, I wear several hats within our community, and today I'm here as a business owner, wildlife biologist, and a state game commissioner. I am a New Mexico State Game Commissioner appointed by the governor 2 years ago. And today I'm going to present to you a little bit about educational program, a program that it was already started. I'm going to tell you a little bit about New Mexico Wildlife Services. New Mexico Wildlife Services was an organization that it was created, is the first organization, international Mexico, United States, and to educate and to do wildlife management within both countries. And with that being said, it's cultivating the future generations. So if we can start, this program, it has started in Mexico. We started over there and we wanted to see the movement, and I'm gonna tell you everything about it, and we would like to start it here as well. The introduction is for more than 50 years, changes have been seen in the environment and natural resources generated mainly by the growth of human population. The excessive use of these natural resources has resulted in habitat degradation all over, as well as the increase of pollution. The habitat degradation, we're part of the Chihuahuan Desert. Why is this program is important? We're part of the Chihuahuan Desert, one of the two deserts that we share with Mexico. We have about 30% of that Chihuahuan Desert. So it's very important what Mexico does is very important to us, and what we do is important to Mexico. What is sustainable development? Is a development that meets the needs of the present generation without compromising the ability to the future generations to meet their own needs. Obviously, we know that everything that we do, we utilize natural resources. What we do, whether we wear leather shoes or not, anything that we utilize for anything, we utilize natural resources. And the population keeps increasing. So the need of those natural resources, extraction of those natural resources keeps increasing. So our job is to be able to leave this world better than what it was given for us, for sustainability. Sustainable development includes not only the care of the environment, but also the wise use of natural resources on the economic development of our region. And I said economic development because it has to have an economic benefit. So within this program is talking about natural resources with an economic value. Next. Approach. The education and awareness of the conservation of natural resources and the environment is one of the factors that has been neglected in the training of the future generations, which is why through this project, it is intended to promote and strengthen the commitment between institutions on these aspects. This link will contribute to the global program managed by the United Nations. The Agenda of 2030, which is 17 objectives, and one of them is natural resource sustainability and education. This is intended to generate education and awareness about natural resources, strategic projects with economic and social benefits, management and use of natural resources, decision-making based on results obtained. What are the goals? The goals is to raise awareness among the populations of high school education institutions about the concept of sustainable development, natural resource management, and economic development. Contribute with practices in environmental education for higher and secondary education students. Make the students' population aware of the main national and international institutions or organizations whose purpose is the sustainable development of natural resources. Provide all of that information to the new generation. Organization, we will develop of a society made up to at least three students that will assign as a directors. Pretty much the way we did it, it was every high school will have a society, which is like New Mexico State University, they have a wildlife society. It will be a society minimum of 3. And why minimum of 3? Because we will have president, vice president, secretary. And we start teaching them not only about natural resources, but about how it works, how really in the government and making decisions work. So we will do that, then develop a committee made up of at least 3 members designated by each high school. So 1 teacher and 2 students is the way we did it over there. Because then we have semi-annual meetings, which is 2 a year, to prepare and promote the calendar of activities to be carried out during the semester. Now, the committee is the one that will attend those meetings, and that's how we will plan everything for the year. What is the vision? Create an educational program where the students and teachers are trained on environmental topics or problems and the use of tools necessary for making informed and responsible decisions. Generating the opportunity to learn in real scenarios to obtain practical knowledge and experiences in natural resources environment, demonstrating that through this approach, an economic and sustainable benefit can achieve. So pretty much, this program is going to get these students where we're going to be talking to them. We're going to have talks. We're going to bring experts, whether it's from the state, federal government, universities. We're going to bring them. They're going to talk to the students. They're going to teach them. And not only that, but if it's possible, we will get those students out into the real scenario. Like, for example, we have a national monument right here, back door, Organ Mountains Desert Peaks. I was a biologist that actually protected 497,000 acres for educational purpose and research. It's not being utilized right here. So with this, taking these students just to our back door and be able to do research with them and teaching them. Now, this is not only to create, you might think, well, what he's trying to do is trying to create more biologists, right? Or it would be great if a lot of them become biologists. But it's not only that. It's that anybody, it doesn't matter what degree, what career, what path they take, is that they have the knowledge of natural resource management, of conservation, of economics versus environmental impacts. So whenever, we don't know, in between those kids might be the next governor, next president, and they can make the right decisions to benefit the natural resources. That's what really this program is about. Knowledge transfer mechanisms, conferences, virtual or in person with experts, speakers, sustainability, management and conservation of natural resources. Field practices with multidisciplinary groups of students to identify the factors that intervene in various problems that arise in the ecoregions. Analysis forum with ideas generated by the students, group members, and conference attendees. Training, course workshops on training aspects in the conservation of natural resources, climate change, environmental impacts, agricultural production, and forest management, within the aim of an economical, sustainable approach. We hear a lot about climate change, constant. I can ask here, what is climate change? And I'm going to be told the layer of ozone being depleted by biofuels, right? And that is correct. But what can we do to change the climate change? You don't hear that. You hear this, that is huge. That is global, right? We cannot do nothing. Well, there are things that we can do, but that's never talked about. Within this program, that's what it will point. can we do here on the local area in our community to benefit that change, and how we can benefit. If we benefit habitat, we're going to benefit wildlife. If we benefit wildlife, I can tell you we can benefit different type of health issues and things like that. Why do this? As the world population increases at an alarming rate, the extraction of natural resources also increases. Therefore, these resources must be conserved to maintain ecological balance and save them for future generations. If we don't have the people prepared to manage these resources, the impact will be greater. This project will allow to promote the comprehensive training of students, such as better natural resource managers of greater economic use, citizens participating in carrying out sustainability actions, people with principles and values interested in the transformation of society through a new culture based on sustainability, individuals prepared to face the challenges that will arise in the sustainability of natural resources, including the economic, social, and cultural benefits of to the future generations. Generate and transmit new scientific and technological knowledge and cultural extension and distribution. We will create a new culture. That's what it is, which is already, especially in the North American model, it is already there, the culture. The Hispanic is not there. And that's what we're trying to connect, those two cultures into the same page. This one, I'm gonna go through a series of pictures, and I'm gonna explain real quick how it has benefited. This is what we do. We do presentations, and obviously we do in person, and we do as well into online, virtual and as well. And then there are professors. The next one. Then from there, we started going to all the high schools. This is high schools. This is going to be pictures of the high schools. When we started the program, as you see, there were several students. Now, these students are the students that they signed up to be part of the society on each high school. The next one. And you're going to see the increase. You see at the beginning, there were a few, but we started moving. The next one. All of them, they're different high schools. And then it started increasing. And all of these students, they're actually continuing in the program. This is the 4th year, and they're still continuing with the program. The next one. This one, actually, they're professors. In Mexico, we were able to give them a certification. Now, Mexico, Latin America, whole Latin America didn't have a bachelor's degree on wildlife management. They had ecology, biology, brain science, but not wildlife management or natural resource management. So here, the professors, they started getting very interested. How can we help you to pass that into our classes? So we give them certifications. We actually certify them. And that's the class that it was. And then from there, more high schools. And this high school right here in Cuauhtemoc, actually what they did is the high school adopted the whole program. They had quite a bit of land. We started to do management. And when the students that they graduate from this high school, they graduate with an associate's degree on wildlife management and natural resource management. So they adopted it that way. Then on this one, Camargo, you can see this number of students, they keep increasing. And this one is La Salle. So we choose areas that they were urban areas. Rural areas, I'm sorry, not urban areas. Rural areas where we think where the resources, they have more accessibility to the resources. And then you see that the population increases quite a bit. And it started getting bigger and bigger. Now, because of this program of high schools, we actually were able to create the first bachelor's degree on wildlife management in Latin America. It started this year, and next year with New Mexico State University, the students, they've signed an agreement where the students, if the last year of their 4-year degree, they come and they study in New Mexico State University, they get the dual bachelor's degree. Same thing with the ones from here. If they go to Mexico, if they go to Chihuahua, to Delicias, and they take the last year of education over there, they get the dual degree, Mexico, United States. And then you can see how it keeps increasing, and the people, the interest is huge. So one of the things that I noticed as a state game commissioner, since I've been helping to manage the New Mexico Department of Game and Fish, the resources, is the lack of knowledge. That's one of the things that we have noticed. It's not so much the interest, there is a lot of interest, but the lack of knowledge on how it has to be done and how we need to do certain actions to be able to maintain sustainability within wildlife populations. The next one. This one right here, so those students, they were not only in Mexico, now we brought them here to New Mexico, and we started doing research with them. They're doing research right here on the National Monument. They did all the population counts on the National Monument when it was designated by President Obama. And then right here, because of the interest, then master's and PhD students, we started doing several things with wildlife management, and then they started helping us with the high schools so they could teach better and we could get more people involved. This is the program. Obviously, that will be presented to you if you are interested. It will be presented to you, and those are all the signatures. The next one, the signatures of all the schools that they were part of this. And it continues, and it keeps increasing. So we would like to do something here so we can have both sides, and if we can make it bigger, so it gets more opportunity. These ones, there are publications. We made it all the way into the media. There are publications of the program that we did on the news. That's the El Heraldo, the biggest newspaper in Mexico. We made it all the way to Mexico City, actually, and talking about the program, how successful it was. And then, obviously, these ones, there are students from the high schools coming over here, and we take them and we show them different management practices, different areas, how they're controlled. We have, one of the things that we do is, New Mexico Wildlife Services, we work with a lot of landowners, and we help them to manage their natural resources on their private properties. And with that, they always provide their ranches for us to be able to bring the students and teach them, and for them to see wildlife. The experiences, they're amazing. The next one. This lady, obviously, she was a high school back then. Now she's a student, and this is her second year on New Mexico State University for wildlife management. They're creating water drinkers for wildlife right there. So they see the wildlife. Those are pictures that they put together for me. And so I ask you, if you learn anything in these few minutes, could you imagine what they could learn in 1, 2, 3, or 4 years? So with that, we put the next one. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. Thank you for the opportunity. And I stand here for any questions you may have.
Any questions, comments? Go ahead, Mr. Morales.
Of course I do, right? Could you elaborate on your affiliation with NMSU?
Yes. So I am a graduate, proud graduate from New Mexico State University with a bachelor's and a master's degree on wildlife science and environmental law. And what we do is, actually, I have an agreement with several universities, one of them being New Mexico State University, where the students come and they do their internship with us. So that's right now what I have.
And my second question is, are any New Mexico high schools currently participating?
No.
So we could be the first?
Yes. Actually, this is presented the first time it's here. I was asked to be presented in Las Cruces district, and no. I am a resident from Sunland Park, proud resident of Sunland Park. Yeah. And I believe, no, I said first here, so here I am.
Any other?
So I asked Mr. Clemente to come and speak because my son actually did his, he was one of the ones that did the internship last summer. And again, lack of knowledge, right? I thought wildlife services, but he was talking about all this extra stuff that he was doing that I had no idea that you were doing. I didn't know that.
Archery? Yes.
Archery. I'm like, archery. That you had that as well. So we have a lot of opportunities within his business, and it's located across the street from the casino. But a lot of people don't know that is there until it was created, that opportunity of all. I think you had a couple of students that went, so they started talking to their friends, and then now they're like, oh, let's, the archery, and then he started talking about birds and like all this, like with 2 months of working with him, he was telling me about like if you go down like 28, they have all this wildlife and look and this birds. If you actually pay attention, you're gonna see this. So I saw the interest there, and I just think that I know we have a lot of programs, but I always think, like, why not just open it to more into the local? We have a lot of amazing local stuff and opportunities and businesses, and so why not, work with each other in partnership, have that partnership with them. Not even going as far as elementary and middle school, right? Like, I think like there's a lot of opportunities for the high schoolers, but what about, starting them young? So by the time, we've been talking about this even for band, right? Like they start in middle school. Why don't we start them in elementary? Imagine if we're winning district-wise, imagine if we had them starting young. So I just thought it was a really a great opportunity, and then it's causing a lot of talks, even political, with the wall, what is he going to do about it? So I just think it will be a neat opportunity.
And thank you for that comment. Actually, this program in Mexico, one of the things for the students, so whenever they finish, obviously we give, it's not a certification, we give them a diploma, a recognition, and that they were part of that program. But for them to get it, the high school students, they had to go at least and teach at least 4 classes to middle school and elementary school. So that brought it down all the way to elementary school. So when the kids the whole point is to get everybody as young as possible. So yes, thank you. That is one of the venues that we
Mr.
take
Morales, you had
I have 2 questions. How do you see a collaboration with the district working? What would that process be like?
So we, and I didn't put it there because I know I'm limited on time, but we have support. New Mexico Department of Game and Fish is very aboard of this program. Several nonprofit organizations, which is Friends of the Organ Mounds, the Serpics, DACA's Doñana County Associated Sportsmen. We're talking about New Mexico, several. And how would it work? We pretty much, we do the whole work. We get the funding through different organizations. So all what it is you open up the classrooms, help us get that societies. I don't know how we will get them down, those groups within the high schools, and then we will sit down and we will do all the program.
Okay, so
does it make sense?
Yeah, it probably needs a little more, because then I would ask you, Mr. Dempsey, based on that, is it feasible to participate in this program? Because we'd have to figure out, of course, all the legal implications and everything, and how that all works, and is it something that can be introduced in the classroom, or is it something that needs to be introduced after school?
Madam Vice President, board members, absolutely. I'll reach out to Mr. Clemente and we'll see, maybe we just let's start having some conversations of how that might get started. And so, yeah, I'll reach out to you and we'll set up a time to meet with you.
Okay. Yeah, whatever is easier for the district, we will.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. Any other questions, comments? No? Thank you so much for your presentation.
Thank you.
All right, and moving on to discussion item 11K, the monthly budget report for the month ended August 31st.
Madam Vice President, board members, Ms. Martinez will present this item.
Good afternoon, Madam Vice President, members of the board, Superintendent Dempsey. I bring to you for discussion the monthly budget report for August 30th, 2024. The operational fund revenues as of August 31st were $28.1 million. Total operational expenses were $17.7 million. The total operational fund balance after temporary loans of $2.4 million was $74.2 million. As of August 31st, the PED and other grant agencies owed the district approximately $2.4 million for grant fund expenditures, nothing for capital outlays, and $1.3 million for student nutrition. Total revenues for all funds were $45.8 million, and total expenditures were $41.1. Direct instruction expenditures plus encumbrances were $91.2 million, or 61.25% of total operational expenditures. All bank accounts were in collateral with pledge collateral requirements. Page 2. Their internal review of school districts, there were no findings. And then you have the summary of the items that were reported in July of 2024. Questions, comments?
Any questions, comments? No.
Are we done?
Yes.
Well, it's because there's 25 pages. I was gonna
Okay, I do the summary.
Oh, okay. Thank you. I really appreciate that. Let me tell you that this format that you used for this report is greatly appreciated. It's very detailed. I had a chance to go through it, and I still am going to keep on going through it, just to get a better understanding of the budget. But I really, really appreciate your effort in this. And I would think that if this format were to continue, that it would, maybe be considered to be put on the consent agenda for future meetings. But that's just me.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. All right, now we move on to item 12, which is the upcoming board meetings. There are several that are there. I think it's, for all of us to make sure that we put it on our calendars and not miss any of the meetings. And with that, do I hear a motion to go into closed session? Closed session, A, limited personnel matters pursuant to 10-15-1, H2 of the Open Meetings Act and MSBA 1978 as amended for superintendents and associate superintendents report, employees on administrative leave with pay, employee grievances, employee issues. Do I hear a motion?
I make a motion that we go to closed session.
Ms. Murillo has made a motion to go into closed session. All in favor? Aye.
Second, aye.
Aye.
Thank you. I think we'll go into closed session. Thank you all for being here this evening and have a safe trip back home.
Just anyway.